I opened up the boot of my car this morning and a bee flew out.
Wow.
Imagine if that mother was in there when I was driving. Could have bit me. My head swells up to be the size of like a bigger head.
What do we do with the next bee head?
We're gonna have to put you and Steph in the double shot because the bee head needs to be a single.
Someone once said to me, "I'll be Queen Bee," and they were like, oh, "Where's Queen A gonna go?"
Isn't that what Beyonce's called? Queen Bee?
It is.
Yeah, that's because her first name's Beyonce.
Oh, thanks, Miles. I didn't understand that. Hey, I'm Nick.
I'm Steph.
And I'm Miles.
And this is Chris, the screenplay fish, aka today, pop culture reference with a fish pun by Ralph Beaver.
That one's a mouthful.
That was a mouth. Ralph Beaver.
Is it getting better than that? Probably not.
No, I should have saved that for the end of the year when that makes sense, like over the course of the whole year where it's just pop culture references. I blew it now, but it doesn't matter. Ralph can come up with a new one. But here we're not talking about fish names today. Today we're talking about the fact that it looks like there might be a new Bioshock coming.
Wow, that was like a fiesta of excitement.
Mexican Bioshock confirmed.
That's the thing, I was about to say, what is that? Is that a specific sound that you're referencing? Because I can't pick it.
No, it's like just.
I felt the excitement, but I was trying to dig through the sort of database of like Bioshock references, and I was like,
It's still.
what's going on here?
I don't remember this bit, Elizabeth.
Would you kindly? So I am really excited about this. So this came out. Jason Schreier from Kotaku did a big article about Hangar 13 and the making of Mafia 3. But buried in that article was a small reference to the fact that there's a secret studio next to Hangar 13. And that they're working on something called Codename Parkside. Every time any of the Hangar 13 devs ask them what they're working on, the people go, oh, we can't really talk about it. And it's all very tight-lipped and stuff. And apparently, it's the new Bioshock. And it's a very small team working on it right now while they figure out the core of what the game is. But significantly, it doesn't have Ken Levine, who was pushed the other Bioshocks and was kind of the person thematically in charge of the series as well, so he won't be working on that. I know you have opinions about old Kenny.
I think he's a little bit elitist, and I think he thinks highly of himself. And I think that, like any franchise, I feel like it's always good for the kind of creator to step away and let someone else take it in a different direction.
Some new blood.
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel like Bioshock Infinite for me was such an incredible world, and I really loved the whole kind of sky setting and all of those sky rails the rail combat
was
such
stuff.
an incredible movement system to be able to combine all of the powers that you had with shooting, which is my favorite. Being like not the best shooter, I always like having a combination
Something else.
Something else. So I really enjoyed it. What annoyed me, I think, was just the story and the setup of this relationship between these two people and this kind of Disney princess character who was a kind of glorified ammo supplier.
Yeah. Now, I'm a massive Bioshock fan. Boys and girls, what do we think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited. I wasn't expecting this because I kind of felt like the last Bioshock, that was the last we really needed to see from that universe.
They put a bow on it.
They put a bow on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it had a very kind of transcendental ending.
It did, an excellent use of the word transcendental.
Thank you.
But you enjoyed the series, right?
Yeah, I really did. In particular, I really enjoyed 1. And I really liked Infinite, although not as much as everyone else.
Right. Well, I feel like not everyone liked Infinite, and we'll get to that in a second. Miles?
1 was the crown jewel in the Bioshock crown for me. Apart from that, I didn't play 2 because I had a lot of my friends, they were just like, don't even bother, the first one was too good, give it a miss. And then Infinite didn't even get touched because I was like, you know what, if 2 wasn't that good, why would this be any better?
Oh, but Infinite was so different.
I didn't like the sky setting. I was like, this was such a cool, creepy Art Deco, submarine world.
Yeah, when Bioshock 1 came out, I mean, none of us had ever played anything like it.
Oh,
it was
God, no.
just
No,
so...
well, I mean, it was the spiritual successor to System Shock, but it just went above and beyond. And I think that thematically and story-wise, it was spectacular in terms of what it was doing in a shooter. But that setting is just, I mean, that world, I will never forget that world.
It was so mysterious, and it was so exciting exploring something that you could see had once been so glamorous and triumphant and had now obviously experienced something devastating.
Yeah.
And the mystery around that was so exciting.
Yeah.
I've heard that both of you have had issues with the story, especially in Infinite, or like the set, or not necessarily setting, but like the political themes surrounding the game.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that it's difficult do, because when I was younger, like Bioshock is in my top 5 favorite games of all time, unquestionably. I just adore it, and I played through it again a couple of years ago, and the re-release came out. Still loved it, but you know, a lot of the issues I have with it, and I don't want to go too deep into it, is that it just feels quite simplistic now. When I was a kid, I was like, yeah, that's this ideal world. This is the perfect way to live, and look at how it fell apart. But maybe if we do it again in the right way, then it'll work. And then I kind of got older, and I was like, oh no, this is all the elitist aspect. And I feel like Levine's work, he comments a lot on these themes about the idea of like this utopian society and the best way to create a society. And then obviously all these societies crumble apart. But I always get the feeling that he's like, a couple of things went wrong, but maybe this is the right thing to do. Even though this one completely fell apart and went to shit, like maybe there's a nugget here that we should be pursuing. And generally, it's very heavily split through class. It's very heavily split through ideologies and stuff. Anyway, Infinite, the disappointing thing for Infinite really was that it got shown off before it got released, and it seemed much bigger and more open than what ended up being shipped. That the game ended up being judged against what people thought it might be, and that sort of like it ended up taking a hit. But what I loved about it, and the same as you, I loved the separation from Rapture. I loved taking it to the floating Columbia was a completely different space, but still tied in. And I am hoping from a new Bioshock that they get away from all of that and basically Bioshock System Shock again. So they had System
I think
Shock.
it would have to.
Not go back to Rapture. I don't want to ruin the memories I have of the Big Daddy.
No, they wouldn't be able to go back there or even, you know, do anything with the Infinite. It would have to be an entirely new kind of setup, I suppose. But would it still be based around the idea of a utopian civilization?
I mean, I don't know if...
Is that the kind of the core of what Bioshock is?
I feel like that's a lot of what Ken Levine was looking at. I think Bioshock is looking at how societies operate. I don't necessarily think it's about a utopia.
Okay.
I think that, to me, a really interesting version of what Bioshock 4 could be would be, you basically set it in current day, it's not a period piece, or you set it slightly in the future, and it becomes much more, you know, the first Bioshock was about the idea of like utopian society where everyone is the best at what they do, and it's like this sort of exceptionalist idea where this whole society can operate, run only by those people. And then Infinite was about worshipping American exceptionalism, was all about America is the best and everyone else is like...
Which was kind of reactionary to what was happening at the time, I think, politically.
Exactly,
well.
And I think now, politically, we're looking at a world where there's a disenfranchised mass. It's a war between left and right, where both sides are doing questionably, you know, dubious things on either side, and that what that Bioshock would look like, where it's a society that's been torn apart by two worldviews trying to live together, as opposed to one worldview that people are rebelling against.
So we've got like Bioshock, the Revolution, set in Treehouse world, where everyone lives above the ground in this like Endor world where it's all,
That would be really cool.
But there won't be an environment to live in.
With classes, and the back end, the caboose of the train, is where Captain America is.
I think so. I think
and there's
something...
a Korean bloke on the train as well.
Honestly, I know the joke you're making, but I think something like that would be...
Yeah, it'd be cool.
Would be interesting.
I feel unsatisfied by the cult themes delivered by Far Cry, and so I feel like I would like, having watched that documentary, I think it's called Wild Country.
God.
If you haven't seen it, it's streaming at the moment. It looks at a cult that formed, the Rajneeshi cult, I think it was.
It's the story that Far Cry 5
a couple of years after Jonestown happened, actually. And yeah, it kind of looks at the formation of a cult that kind of builds itself on the idea of love and acceptance, but like any kind of self-governing body, they still have to apply certain rules to the way people live, and then the whole thing ends up becoming like it falls apart because everyone has different ideas about what it is at the core of the way people live, and then it never works.
And so something like that, but in a Bioshocky kind of theme?
I think that would be really cool,
Set now? Like modern times?
Oh, well, let's put it in the 70s or the early 80s.
You still want to go back into a period piece?
I think a different period, yeah, but not so far back, because both of those games were kind of set in the 40s and the 30s and stuff.
Yeah, it had a sort of like, man, boy.
Well, yeah.
Steph's favorite accent.
Yeah.
Is that all the pirate voice? It's all the voices you do.
So something kind of like, 60s or 70s would be awesome.
Yeah. The other thing that I am interested in is the idea of like what a Bioshock looks like in a games world now. Lots of games as a service, lots more games that never really end? Do we want something? Do we want Bioshock to be like an open world RPG? Does that work? I personally, I want go hard on a small, tight story.
I agree.
Like, give us.
I wouldn't want to see an open world game from them.
No, it's like God of War, where you go.
Bioshock needs to do Bioshock. You know, we don't have enough solid single-player games at the moment outside of God of War or, I mean, Far Cry 5 is now, that's a co-op game. That's essentially, and again, the games as a service. Bioshock needs to do Bioshock. If they stray from that winning formula, it's not going to be Bioshock when there's like loads of other big daddies running around and everyone's got their crazy ice hands out. It's going to be ridiculous, and that will completely dilute what made those games so special.
I'll tell you what, I would love, and I know that Elizabeth was kind of just an ammo throwing thing. Like story-wise, I thought she was really interesting, but gameplay-wise, she was just like, here we go.
Yeah.
That I would love if it was co-op, and that because the whole plasmid thing, that was like, that's the best part of Bioshock is working with that. But now we're working with much more advanced tech that you basically make magicka, where these, like, my plasmids work in conjunction with your plasmids, so that you're, like, our combat...
you can combine them together.
Yeah, which they did some
We
of that.
should make a game.
We should make a game. I like the treehouse thing, the plasmid thing. Yeah, this is gonna work. But yeah, so that, you know, Bioshock had some of that where you're joining these things together to try to make, you know, put them in water and then electrocute the water and all that sort of thing.
So,
like really amp up the amount of, like, mad combinations that you could put together.
Steph sprays water everywhere, and then you come in and you blow your wind and you freeze that water into ice.
Thank God.
And then Miles just sort of takes a picture or something, I don't know, a selfie.
And then Miles just comes in and, what are they called? Zambini? Like the ice...
A Segway. No,
the ice
thing.
thing.
Ice, like for the ice rink where they like...
The ice rink? You just, and you just slowly crush everyone.
And then we get an achievement.
Yeah. And then we all play a game of hockey. So that's what we think the new Bioshock could be. Set in a treehouse, something about ice hockey, co-op with magicka-style elements, and again, a story based around cults and the left and right, sort of that war. What do you guys think Bioshock should be? I put this question out to you, and this is your screenshot. Our first answer comes in from Mr. L. Coombe, who says space, set it in space. Which I think is the default answer for any time you theorize about what a video game should be. But I would argue that Prey was Bioshock set in space. Prey had a lot of the Bioshock elements.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it had a lot of that sort of going on. So we've already had that, Luke, so bad idea.
I feel like it'll be a bit gimmicky.
It could be a bit gimmicky. The Business Gamer says throwing some branching storylines, a sprinkle of new powers, and a completely bonkers game locale. So I think we covered pretty much all of that, except for the branching storylines. Would we want that?
What do you mean by branching storylines? Like different characters having different...
Potentially we're talking about Witcher 2 style thing, where it's like there's a whole entire part of the game that you could play that I made a different choice, and so...
You mean like, yeah, different outcomes, ultimately?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a difficult thing to pull off, and I feel like you need to focus on doing that very well, and then the rest of the game would potentially suffer.
Yeah, because like Bioshock 1 had there's the good endings and the bad endings, but it's like, it's pretty binary. And
I also don't think we went too crazy on that setting. I think you could have like Bioshock the Clown College, where it's all based in a single, you know, clown college, and there's good daddies and bad daddies, and there's clowns and whatnot. And
right, you're off the
way
team.
Weirder.
You're off the team.
They were called Big Daddies, not Good Daddies and Bad Daddies.
Trying to create clown names out of that.
Like, why are they Good Daddies? And anyway.
Sounds like a sex thing, man.
It's definitely a sex thing.
I was not there.
At SJ Goodwin says, flesh out the plasmids and vigors as much as possible while minimizing gunplay. The most fun I've had in a Bioshock game was my plasmid wrench-only run. And I would love to see that. Like, remove the guns and just make it magicka. Like, just make those powers be the only thing that you can use. Because the guns are kind of like, set in a world where guns are redundant. Why do you have guns? Like, you've got these plasmids.
What about a world with no gunpowder, therefore there are no guns.
That's a good one.
There's a gunpowder shortage.
There you go, that's a good one.
I guess I would say that the guns kind of put you on the same level as other people, and the plasmids were something to enhance you slightly above. Whereas if you only had plasmids, I feel like that would overpower you too much, potentially.
Interesting. I hate when you get all logical and bring facts into this discussion. At Shiny McShiny says, I'd love to see it go in a spooky horror direction. And I think that's the core of what made like the first Bioshock so great. It was terrifying to go through. And then finally, Exhumed says, a critique of libertarianism and rampant capitalism and bring back the hand that shoots the bees. And I agree. Bee shooting hands should be in every video game. So that's what you guys think should be in Bioshock. But there are more of you watching. Let us know in the comments what you want to see from a new Bioshock game. And while you're there, hashtag name.fish to name.fish. We're done.
We're done.
Let's go make our game.
More bees. More bees. Not the bees.
I was just about to say, don't go all Nicolas Cage on me.
Definitely bees.
We've got bee-related content on the channel, I'm sure, coming up at some point. Hit like and subscribe. And is there a notifications thing down there? Hit that too.
We've also got videos here and here if you want to check those out. I promise you, you'll be impressed.
Bzz.